Right, well, hello everybody, and I hope you all had a really good weekend and are ready for another particularly productive week of remote learning. And I want to start by saying how impressed I continue to be by everything that all of you are doing to engage with the full range of opportunities that are being put on for you during this really unusual period in our history. And I want to continue to encourage you to make full use, please, of all of those online resources that are being made available to keep you focused, to keep you academically stimulated, to keep you fit and well, and perhaps most importantly of all, to keep you in touch with fellow pupils and staff, which is so important for your mental well-being. I have this morning also thanked on your behalf all of the staff who I know you are hugely grateful to for the enormous amount that they're doing for you. And I don't mean just by I don't just mean by that the interactive lessons, which of course is great, and all the other things they're doing to support your academic study, but actually there is an enormous amount of other things that are being done as well. The virtual co-curricular programme, which I know many of you are really enjoying, the house programme, the grade forecasting that now needs to be done for year 11 and year 13, and associated with that, overseeing the additional assessment programme for those students who request those, overseeing other elements of transition from year 11 into the sixth form, and many other things besides. So, you know, staff are working really hard to support you, and I wanted you to know that I had thanked them on your behalf. We are all aware that, given it's now been some weeks since shutdown began, that we're all aware that it's having a real toll. It's taking a real toll on you, maybe some more than others, but for all of us, it's really challenging. And we're conscious of your mental health and your well-being, and we're concerned for you, and we want to do everything we can to support. So one thing that's happening this week that I want you to be aware of is we will be sending you a questionnaire. The pastoral team will be sending you a questionnaire to check in on you and see how you're doing. And I'd ask you to be really honest about that, please. Really honest with your feedback. If you're feeling really low, really down, that's absolutely fine. Equally, if you're not, that's absolutely fine as well. But just be honest with us, because it means that we can deploy the pastoral team, the support networks that we have at the college to really come and help you and support you in any ways that you need. So please do be really honest with that questionnaire when it comes around to you. One of the pieces of feedback that we've had from you, particularly here in years 7 through to year 10, is that some of you are feeling really quite overwhelmed with workload. So again, we've discussed this as a group of teachers about ways in which we might be able to be more sympathetic to the challenge of having to balance the workload that you have. But I would also say to you to be really open and honest with your teachers and your tutors where you are struggling, so that we can respond to that, please. It's all about communication during this phase. So the more that we communicate over it, the better. But we are conscious that your workload is very high at the moment, particularly in the setting that you're in. A few other notices from me this morning. The first of which is to say that learning scores are happening this year. At the end of this term rather, but we are going to adjust what they mean slightly so that they reflect more the scenario that we're in, and it will be more about how you have engaged with the remote learning. So learning scores are happening, but as you would expect, they've been tweaked and changed slightly. A message from Miss Partridge, who wants to remind you that all of the Opening Minds lectures are on Firefly. Do tune into those. They're there, available for you for academic enrichment, open to anybody. So please do make sure that you know how to access those. A message from Mr. McClune about the house system, and to say that our house countdown competition is going live today on social media and Firefly at 3:05, and that's during the Monday 4-day slot. And I also wanted to update you that the building programme continues, albeit at a slower pace on the school site, but we are making significant progress with that. So the groundworks, as they call it, all the foundations and groundworks are now largely done. So we're starting to actually build it, which is all very exciting. And were we to be in school, we would see a massive, great big crane on the school site. But clearly we're not. So hopefully if you go onto our website and social media, you will see a picture of that. But the building project continues. Really exciting. I write to your parents every Friday, as well as, of course, speaking with you at Assembly on a Monday. I'm very happy for you to see those letters. They're freely available on the website, so do have a look. But in there, I remind everybody that it is a bank holiday this Friday, so there's no school, no normal school on a Friday. There's not a normal school at all at the moment, but there's not even a remote school on Friday because it is an early bank holiday. And in my letter to your parents, I talk about the fact that the reason for the early bank holiday is that it's VE Day, the end of the Second World War. 75 years ago, the Second World War ended. And I mention the fact that there is a certain irony to that fact because 75 years ago was the end of the Second World War, but it was also the end of the last St Dunstan's shutdown. And for those of you who didn't know, St Dunstan's College has had a shutdown before. Because at the end of the Second World War, all of the pupils were removed from Catford because it was considered too dangerous in the London location, and they were moved out to the countryside in a place called Reigate, and they had a sort of remote school out there. So they were operating remotely, and in fact, St Dunstan's College was then taken over by the British Army, who used it as a base. And 75 years ago, the children returned. They came back. And they found, actually, the report showed that they found the school in a real mess and they had to try and tidy it all up and sort it out and clean it up and that sort of thing. So I talk about that irony, not least because it shows you that there's been times like this before and they have passed and St Dunstan's College has come back and we've all been reunited again. And that will happen once more. And when it does happen, I very much look forward to seeing you and celebrating with you that this thing has passed. And we get back to some sense of normality. But in the meantime, have a really, really good week. Well done for all you're doing, and take care of each other and yourselves.